Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Elevating Your Life. And woo, we're going to be elevated. Oh, I have just a fantastic guest for you today. We are talking with Cynthia Rivard. She is the author of the new book, Hope for a New Era, Turning the Tide, Love and Leadership Through Turbulent Times. Explains the manifestation myths that have stymied our progress towards co-creating a healthier, more peaceful, joyful, and prosperous planet, and clarifies essential truths of the law of creation to help guide humanity's evolution into its greatest era. So first off, welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you, Paula. I'm delighted to be here and get to share a little with your audience today. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So happy to have you. Well, I would love to have you share maybe a little more of your background and what triggered you to write your fantastic book.
All right. I love sharing this. Thank you for asking. I actually went through what people call a spiritual awakening fairly late in life, about 5 years ago. And I became a crystal clear channel. And I received guidance to write this book. The book is basically what people call channeling, but it's just receiving through your claircognizance or some other clairsense, uh, receiving information. And I was guided to write the book, told, the time is now for us to get this message out.
I love that. I love that. Ah, I had a few similar experiences in writing my Why Am I So Happy book. It's like I'd just be sitting or in the car or say, I need to talk about that. And I'd write it
Yeah.
down. So
Yeah.
that that is out there for everyone, isn't it? Being open to, what may come to them.
Absolutely. Well, I talk a lot about it in my book because for me, the way I was brought up, the idea of what people called channeling just seemed like woo voodoo. And even once I got curious about it, I thought, well, that's a special gift people get really young in life or develop really young in life. And that would not be me. Even thinking about developing my intuition more, which a lot of people confuse the two. But when I thought about it as intuition, I still thought that's not me. I'm old. I don't have that. And so I like to share that it is this connection, this receiving of communication is available to every single one of us, but it's a skill to develop. And you absolutely 100% can. And a big part when I talk about co-creating what many people in the New Age space refer to as the New Earth, I've been calling it the new era. It's our next chapter in our evolutionary journey. This next chapter, we need to co-create with divine guidance, but we need to take the action and make the changes here in the 3D where we live, and not just get lost in uh, trying to get into the 5D space. You can receive the guidance on an ongoing basis and then apply it into your everyday life and into all of the areas you already have influence in and make a difference and help co-create the new earth.
So what steps would you say to the listeners that are saying, well, what can I do to open myself up and receive some of this communication, or
Mm-hmm.
what you might call intuition? What steps could they take, Cynthia?
So the first step is to understand that you are able and that it's a skill to develop. And so set the intention that you want to receive this communication. But the second thing, and this is a nuance that developed recently, the human emotional frequency scale expanded exponentially back in 2023. And now you have to have a frequency that's at 1 million bioenergy units or above in order to connect with your higher self or divine aspect, or I often call it my inner wisdom. In order to make that connection, your frequency has to be at a certain level. So that would be step one, to get your frequency at least to that point, if not higher, and then set the intention to connect. And the tool that I teach everyone to use is from kinesiology. It's part of muscle testing. It's called the sway test. And a lot of people use it to connect with the subconscious, which you absolutely can do. But when you set the intention and your frequency is high enough, you can use it to connect with your higher self and get answers to your questions. Ask lots of questions. That's how I developed my skill. I was so curious, and I was just always answering, or excuse me, always asking questions. I was just thinking I probably got a little annoying, but and I'm teasing there. It's how we learn. The more curious you get and the more questions you ask, the better. And as I developed this ability with this sway test, I developed what people know as clairsentience. I would get this feeling in my body that I would recognize as a yes or a no from my inner wisdom. And the more I did it, the easier it became. It was just with me all the time. I would get this sensation. And it took a while to recognize that it was actually claircognizance that was guiding me on the questions to ask.
Mhm.
So all along, you want to develop your claircognizance, but it's really an easy, I call it a cheat, this ninja hack as far as developing your clairconsciousness, to start with the sway test and use clairsentience to validate what you think you might be getting through your claircognizance. I was an overthinker, and I would not trust what was coming through because I
Oh,
didn't know if it was what I call my monkey mind
yeah,
or if it was actually my inner wisdom giving me that creative idea.
yeah. And trust.
So it's a great way to, and you can start right away. You could do it today.
Yeah. And I've always been fascinated with frequencies, and where
Mhm.
we reside and our emotions, like love, kindness, high frequency, and that. Share a little more information about our frequencies and what the listeners can do to raise that.
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked that because there's a lot of misunderstandings around frequency and what actually compels it to rise. It does not change with your mood. It does not vary. We have a set point and it can rise since the frequency's expanded, especially it wants to rise. You are meant to get to your highest ascension point in this lifetime, which is 500 million bioenergy units. It sounds quite high, but that's the resonance. That is the frequency of joy that we all want to be in resonance with. And that's available to everyone now. But you can't raise your frequency just by thinking happy thoughts. That is a misunderstanding. You want to first determine where your frequency is. And I do have a free training on this. I'll direct people to if I have a chance later, but it's using the sway test I mentioned. You can measure your frequency to know if it's over that 1 million mark. And if it's not, the first thing I recommend that people do is get out in nature without your headphones and just spend a little more time in nature. Up to an hour a week will help your frequency rise because the frequency of nature is 1 million.
I love it. I
So
love it.
that will help. And it makes sense, right? I know that forever, no matter what my current spiritual state was, I always felt more connected to something, whatever that was, when
Yes.
I was in nature.
Yes.
So it does make sense. If you get out in nature, it will help your frequency rise. The one caveat I will put on that, the one thing that keeps the frequencies from rising, and this is happening with a lot of people now, is trapped emotions.
Mhm.
So if you've ever heard of or done energy work, you you want to diffuse any trapped emotions, and you'll know you have some if your frequency doesn't rise over the course of a month. If you're measuring it and it doesn't go anywhere, you know you have trapped emotions holding it down. And that's either in your body or your auric layer. And it doesn't matter where it is. It's very simple for an energy master to diffuse that. And then your frequency will start to rise again.
Yes. And that is so fascinating. And I love that about nature. Myself, yes. Every morning, I give myself a few minutes outside in the morning to listen to the birds. Just something that simple can make a difference for us, can't it?
It's very grounding.
Yes.
Oh shoot, what was I going? I wanted to clarify something else with the frequency. Oh, the benefits of raising your frequency, because we hear people talk all the time about frequency and having a high vibe. And yet, people misunderstand that thinking positive thoughts isn't how you get a high vibe. The whole reason you want a higher vibration is because the happier emotions are further up that emotional frequency scale. Mm-hmm. At the very bottom are things like anger and hate and grief, all the really dense, heavy human emotions we don't want to be feeling. Mm-hmm. And when you feel emotions like that, those are the type that get trapped because they're heavy, they're dense, and they stay stuck sometimes. They don't move on as they're meant to. It's all energy. And so as your frequency moves up the scale, you do have the ability to experience and hold on to those happier frequencies more often. It doesn't mean you don't still experience a variety of emotions. We are, as humans, we're emotional creatures, and your thoughts create your emotions. So you will always have a variety of emotions, but the dips won't be as low as your frequency climbs. So instead of anger, you may experience annoyance, as an example, but it won't be, as deep and heavy as you might have experienced at one time with the lower frequency. The other perk, really big perk about raising your frequency, I mentioned that you need to get to 1 million in order to connect with your inner wisdom, the divinity within you. But beyond that, the higher your frequency goes, the easier it is to get that communication, because divinity operates at a very high frequency. And we'll never reach that frequency, but the higher our frequency raises, the easier it is to connect and the clearer those messages are coming through to us. So that is a big plus.
Love that.
And then the third thing, and this is a biggie, is that once your frequency gets to your highest ascension point and you've formed that connection with your divine aspect, they will help you raise your consciousness, which is the ultimate goal. That's how, the Buddhists talk about nirvana, experiencing that transcendent joy that will come with raised consciousness. And when we are all raising our consciousness, we'll all look at things through a lens of unconditional love and compassion. And you can just imagine that is how we'll get around to creating this next era and a better place for humanity. We'll all be looking with a different lens of raised consciousness. We'll no longer be making decisions. And I'm not saying anyone listening is, but we see in the world so much greed and egocentric decision making. All of the people just wanting to hoard money and make more money and take from the poor. rather than helping our fellow humans.
Yeah.
And when we have a raised consciousness, you have compassion for everyone else, and you will be able to live in peace and harmony. We all will. And you may be able to now, but if the people around you aren't cooperating, it's a little hard to maintain that harmony that we'll be able to move into as everyone around us raises their consciousness as well.
So is our consciousness where our mindset is combined with how we are feeling? Exactly what
You're
what is
Thank
the
you for
conscious?
asking that. Consciousness, when we refer to it, we have different levels of consciousness. We've been talking about the subconscious and our conscious awareness, and then our higher consciousness, which is our divine aspect. When we talk about raising consciousness, it's our conscious awareness that we are helped to raise as we strengthen our connection and our awareness of our divinity, our divine aspect or higher self. That is what we're talking about in raising our consciousness. It's our conscious awareness that becomes more aware of our divinity, our divine aspect, which of course we have lots of layers of ego and programming that kind of prevents us from understanding that, but we'll be helped with that as you make that connection with your higher self.
Awesome, awesome. And then that kind of, when we achieve that, it leads to the decisions we make and how we move forward or how we treat others, all of that.
Absolutely. So when we talk about the new era or the new earth, there's two aspects that I talk about in the book. There's your personal aspect of experiencing joy and unconditional love, and you can work on that now. The frequency's expanded. It's available to you. That personal joy is available to you now, and raising your frequency and your consciousness. When you do that, when your frequency gets so high, you will become magnetic to all of the people around you and help them raise their frequency. So it is absolutely true that we will be able to rise together. It feels like a lot of work, one person at a time, to get to this point, but it's like a snowball effect. As more of us get onto this program and raise our frequency and raise our consciousness, we'll be impacting all the people around us, and that will just continue to ripple out.
I love it. I love it.
And then the second aspect to the new earth, of course, is the 3D reality of how we're living in and among each other in community, and the end of wars, that kind of thing, how we're able to support each other and live in peace. And that aspect is a ways off because we have a lot of work to do. But the personal, individual aspect is available to everyone right now. And the more of us that get on that campaign and start that ripple, the faster we'll be able to create the 3D reality out into the world of a better world.
Oh, I love it. I love it. The ripple effect, and it is real.
Mhm.
So what exactly like is the difference between 3D and 5D, which you mentioned?
Well, 3D is our material world, our everything that's matter that we see is what people refer to as our 3D reality. When we talk about 5D, I'm talking about consciousness. You can't see it, but it's there in in the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
And it's anyway, we have to live in the 3D. A lot of what's been talked about in spiritual circles, I think, has been a little misleading about working on ourselves, raising your vibe, and all of that. And, the inner work that people have been called to do, that's all well and good. But our purpose on the planet is always, they're different. We all have unique purposes, but our purpose is to serve others. So you have to, yes, grow and evolve yourself always. That's part of why we're here. We should always be trying to get better and evolve, but then take what you're learning and knowing and how you're being guided and go out into the world and serve others and impact other people's lives. I think that piece is missing in some of the teachings and the communications. You can't go live in a monastery and meditate for decades
Mhm.
trying to reach nirvana because you're meant to, yes, experience that joy, but also serve others and help them have a better existence in some way. And I don't want to overwhelm anyone. It could be your family and how you're serving them, but we can't just live in a bubble within ourselves. We are here in this 3D reality to be in it and to serve others. It's not a matter, I've heard people talk about, working on their whatever it is, their meditation or their mindset, and trying to just move into the 5D. You're not meant to do that while you're here in this lifetime. We are living on Earth. There's no other planet in another dimension. I've heard that as well. We're not moving to another planet, another dimension that's going to be like paradise. We already live on what you could have considered paradise before we started polluting it. So
Mhm.
we need to be good stewards of the earth because
Yeah.
it's meant to be around for billions and billions more years. And we're not ensuring that that happens. We need to take care
Mhm.
of it and take care of each other.
We sure do. We sure do. Share with everyone your website and how they can maybe find out, test their frequency and what you offer through your website. Share that with us,
Absolutely.
please.
Thank you. So, if you remember my name, Cynthia Rivard, R-I-V as in Victor, A-R-D as in David. CynthiaRivard.com is my website, and you'll find links there to my free resources. I have one on measuring your frequency and the chart of the human emotional scale that you can use to do that. Lots of free resources, a link to lots of free trainings on my YouTube channel. A lot of what I do is through the nonprofit I founded called the Global Rising Tide, and there's a link there for that as well. All of the proceeds from my books will go to that nonprofit, which is funding efforts to end global warming. But we're also in the donor community. I help people work on finding their purpose and raising their frequency and how to get to the point that they're raising their consciousness. This is the work we do there. And also, my books are through the website. You can find out more about it and link to Amazon, or you'll find them on other online retailers, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, I thank you so much for all that you're doing, Cynthia, and all the caring and the information. My gosh, getting this out there, is going to create more of the ripple effect, would you say?
That is the plan. The more that hear this message, and it's not about selling the books. The more people that hear the message and get to work on this, the better. So I really appreciate you having me and the opportunity to share the message. I appreciate it, Paula. Thank you for the work you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And with a few minutes left in the show, what last message do you want everyone to think about? What last thing would you like them to think about and maybe begin to do today?
The biggest, most traction trajectory shifting, I'm trying to think of the word, The biggest thing you can do starting today is develop that skill with connecting and receiving information and guidance from your inner wisdom. It all starts there. So if you don't take anything else away today, I know a lot of what I start getting into with leadership and your purpose and serving others gets a little overwhelming. Start with that connection. That's all you need to do, but start today, raising your frequency and developing that relationship. Your inner wisdom has been with you your entire life, but most of us in our culture have been trained to ignore it or tune it out. So I really encourage everyone to nurture that communication channel, and that will guide you with whatever you decide you need to do. It's a daily life-changing skill you can develop.
Love it. I love it. And something I did want to ask you before we say goodbye is I'm very passionate about being open to manifestation. So how important is trust when we are, seeking manifestation in our life?
Well, there's a whole set of principles that have kind of been overlooked when people talk about manifesting. But the number one thing I would say is, yes, trusting your inner wisdom, because it will guide you on the right actions, the right direction, and the right actions at the right times. And so it's all about trust, really, because you can't always know analytically what you need to be doing. And sometimes we come up with directions we want to go in that are opposed to our life. They're out in conflict with our life's path, and we're not going to be able to manifest that goal if it's in conflict. So really tapping into your inner wisdom and trusting it and the actions you need to take will make your manifesting easier and faster.
Oh, all of that is just so fascinating and so exciting, isn't it? To know that we all have that. We
Yes.
all have that ability.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just really an exciting thing to realize, isn't it?
It 5 years ago, you could have knocked me over if somebody told me that. You're like, well,
Oh my
where is it?
goodness. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh, that is
just a
so awesome.
skill. I didn't know that. Just a skill.
Oh, this has been so fantastic. Thank you, Cynthia. Love, hugs, and blessings. Everyone out there, love, hugs, and blessings.
Thank you, Paula. I appreciate you.
Thank you.